like there's no tomorrow.
Welcome to the BingKing podcast.
All right, how's everyone doing? I have Coach Ted here with me on my podcast, the BingKing podcast, and we just had a great conversation in the coffee shop. I really wish we had kind of recorded ahead of time. So I'm really upset that we missed all of that. But why don't you tell everyone what you do and how long you've been in Shanghai?
So I am a gymnastics coach. I've been in Shanghai since 2008. So around, let's say, 18 years now.
Long time. You're an old head.
It's a really long time.
Yeah.
And so basically what I'm trying to do now is just help people become more aware of the importance of biomechanics in sports training.
So I know that you've been teaching a lot of kind of gymnastics. That's your background.
Yeah.
Why do you think gymnastics is important?
Well, first of all, I believe that everything sports related comes down to motion. And as we've said before, the motions are just fundamental motions. So we talk about FMP. Your running, your jumping, your crawling, your support, your hanging. All these things, if you look at complex sports or complex movements, are just a consolidation of simple skills.
Right.
And gymnastics is really the sport that actually focuses on how to perform these skills efficiently. And so I think that's why gymnastics has been the best fundamental sport for children.
For children?
Well, I mean, not even just for children, right? For people in general.
Yeah, I think so.
I think of gymnastics not only as a sport, but as a tool for life.
But right now you're teaching mostly kids.
I teach a lot of kids.
Yeah. Why don't you guys teach adults?
So for adults, that's more of like, it's more of a, what do they call it? A business plan, right? When you delve into adult market, the hard thing is for adults to stay consistent.
I agree.
Adults all have like a lot of things going on. They have work, they have families, they have travel, all these things. So a lot of their training becomes inconsistent.
Yeah.
And as we know, for anything, consistency is actually king. To learn anything, you have to practice it. Otherwise, you just forget or you lose the feeling of it. Right. So you have to have consistency in what you're doing to really excel at it.
Yeah. So do you think that kids learn faster than older adults? I've had this argument with a lot of people. I don't believe that's the case. They're always saying how, kids have a more malleable body, a more malleable brain, and they learn faster.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
All right. I think adults are, when we talk about learning, learning is actually a mental process.
Sure.
Right? Because adults have more exposure to the world, exposure to things in general, it's much easier for them to grasp the concepts of whatever it is they're learning.
I agree.
Right? But at the same time, adults have constraints as well, right? For example, have you recently been injured? Yeah. How long did it take you to come back from that injury?
I mean, now that I'm old, months? 3 months?
Right. Imagine if that injury occurred when you were like 10 years old.
Couple weeks,
right?
Couple weeks.
Right. So this kind of inhibits our body. We know that, like, okay, well, I can't get hurt, so I don't want to try anything too dangerous. As an adult, it's harder for us to come out of our comfort zone.
Okay.
Than it is for kids.
We have more fear.
Yeah. We have more constraints
I get that.
in what we've been taught to do, right? So do kids learn faster than adults? Not necessarily. But are kids more willing to experiment than adults and make mistakes than adults? Yes, absolutely. Sometimes kids don't know, like, well, if I fall on this skill, it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
But an adult knows if I fall, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
So that's the main difference between teaching kids and teaching adults.
They have less fear.
They have less fear, and kids are just lighter, right? If you're 10 feet in the air and you're an adult, I can't catch you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to save you. But a kid that's maybe like 30 or 40 pounds, yeah, I can hold them.
Right.
So that's basically the main difference.
Yeah,
between teaching
that
kids
makes a
and
lot of
adults.
sense. Because in my head, I think it's just mat time. I think a lot of it is just time doing that thing. I have a hard time believing that if you brought me a 30-year-old male and a 10-year-old male, they both did the same amount of time in the water, that the kid will learn it faster than the adult. I actually find it really hard to believe. It's just that as adults, we have less time.
Right, exactly.
And I think because we have less time, we tell ourselves that we learn slower. I don't think we do. I think we probably learn at a very similar pace. And the adult potentially faster because their brain understands it more. But it's just that we have less time to be in the water. And so in a lot of ways, I feel like it's a fallacy that people are like.
All right, so essentially it comes down to potential for growth, right? Adults are fully grown already, and so their strength, the amount of growth that they can gain from specific training becomes limited because their bodies are no longer growing.
Okay.
For children, for example, your core strength, right? When you teach them from a young age, their bodies are light, so they can activate a lot more of their, we call them stabilizer muscles, right? It's much easier for them to activate the full range of muscles. Whereas if you're an adult, yes, you can get that strength. As a child, as their bodies grow, their strength kind of grows with them.
Yeah.
So they become much easier for them to become accustomed to that, we call like 发力模式.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we see very prevalent in gymnastics.
But do you feel like an adult who's maybe never worked out, like they get those newbie gains just as fast as like a little kid, right? Let's take a 30-year-old man who's almost never worked out. You throw him in a gym, you put him on a bench press, he's going to grow exponentially during his first 2 years. Is that really different from like a kid that's just learning from, age 10?
So here's the thing. We understand when people begin working out, right? We call these a lot of the newbie gains, right?
Newbie gains.
Newbie gains comes, I believe, mostly from just the neurological aspect of it, right? A lot of neurons that you've never fired before are becoming activated.
Correct.
And these are what we say newbie gains.
Yeah.
But now as an adult gains these newbie gains, their bodies are no longer really growing.
I would beg to differ, I feel like. I mean, yes, their bodies are no longer maturing, but you are growing new muscle. That's the whole point of being in the gym.
What is the inhibiting factor of our muscle growth, right?
What you eat.
Well, let's
Mostly.
get back to genetics then,
Okay.
right? It comes down to bone density.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, the amount of bone density that is gained through adults lifting, there is benefits of that. Their bones become more dense, but when you go through that process as a child,
Yeah, it's
the
different.
process is much quicker.
I agree. Yeah, it's
Right.
got to be.
So it's like I said, it comes back to like the injury.
Yeah.
Right? You injure yourself, takes 2 months now at 40 to get back to normal. A child, I remember just falling and then like you
Getting
hurt
back
for
up.
hurt for a couple days and then you get back up and you're like, okay, let's do it again.
Right.
So in that aspect, I think children grow faster.
Yeah.
And it's just like you say, the amount of time that you have. At 40, you don't have the next 20 years to develop the strength. But as a child, when you start at 5 years old, you have 20 years. And those 20 years are going to be 20 years where your body's just rapidly growing. You're gaining more muscle. You're gaining more bone mass. Your neurons are developing still. Your brain's getting smarter, and I think that's the main benefit that comes from being a child as opposed to being an adult.
Yeah, I feel that too. I mean, it's so much fun watching kids go from knowing nothing to kind of just like getting the skills. And it clicks in their head, and all of a sudden, I think that happiness that they show far outshines someone that's older. You know, I think it takes a lot more for like an adult to be like, oh my fucking God. Like kids constantly like, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what was so rewarding for me when I was coaching swimming.
Yeah.
It was just watching them be like, did you see my best time? I was
Yeah.
like, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But to them, it's the first time. They have that like sense of wonder that I guess adults kind of lose as we get older, which sucks.
Yeah.
But
We become jaded with everything.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah. But back to like gymnastics. So what are you trying to do now? Because I understand that you're trying to like push this tool that you call gymnastics to more people. How's that going to work for you? What are you imagining?
So I imagine gymnastics not only as a competitive sport, because gymnastics as a competitive sport is suitable for maybe 0.01% of the population. The gymnastics that most people think of as gymnastics is what we see on the Olympics. This is highly specialized, highly technical. It takes years and years and years of practice. But what I would like for people to believe what gymnastics is just a tool for movement, a tool that teaches us how to control our own bodies.
Sure.
This tool of gymnastics is suitable for 100% of people, right? So this is where the actual marketability of gymnastics comes from. If you take something that's suitable for 0.1% of the population, you don't really have a huge market for it.
No.
You can't really sell this product. But when it's something that everybody can use, then it becomes a product that is marketable, it has value, and it can actually help with life, right? Being able to do a double front flip doesn't really help you so much with life.
That's what I was going to say. I agree. There's so many gymnastic skills. I'm never going to have to do an iron cross.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Nor could I at this point.
But well, you might be able to actually. It's.
You think so?
Yeah. I think it's not that difficult. Yeah.
It's just progression. You think?
I think progression, like we say, neurons firing the right muscles. You probably just never really understood which muscles you need to use to actually hold it, and structurally what your body needs to be in to be able to hold that position. Here's an example. In gymnastics, we rate skills by difficulty, right? So A is the easiest skill.
What's an A?
An A.
Cartwheel.
I don't even think cartwheel's an A. I think front flip is an A.
Is easier than cartwheel.
No, cartwheel. I don't even think cartwheel
Oh, it doesn't count.
It doesn't even count as a skill.
It's not even a skill. Shit.
So it's like a cartwheel is like it's essentially like a building block for skills.
Okay.
Right. But an iron cross by itself is a B level skill.
I see.
And skills go right now. I think the highest level skill is an H.
Okay.
Right. So as it goes up, it gets progressively more difficult.
Right.
Right. It's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So this is like
8.
Yeah. There's like 8 levels of skills. Iron cross is a B.
Yeah.
I think most people could do one if.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It seems really difficult as you watch those people kind of just suffer on that thing.
Well, that's the thing. I think that most people, they see gymnastics and they think like, well, that's impossible, right? But as we've said, as we were talking about earlier, complex skills really are just a consolidation of simple skills. Right. And so here's how this difficulty works, right? When you consolidate more basic skills, fundamental skills, that's how the difficulty increases. Right. So that's why when you say a front flip is an A, right? A front flip with a full twist in the middle is a B, because it involves a rolling motion and a twisting motion.
And a jump.
Right? So this is why you have difficulty levels. You just look at it and you're just like, okay, well, that's just one more fundamental skill,
Yeah.
just added into it,
I see.
right? So that's how gymnastics skill
But as
difficulty
it
comes.
stacks up, it gets
As it
you're
stacks
throwing
up-
more things together into one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it's
get
like it's the same thing. The more variables you put into something, the more the higher the chance of it going wrong.
Right.
Right. So that's that's
But I mean, like back to what you were saying. So, how do you think it helps your everyday human to have these skills in their pocket?
So let's just say something as simple as we say walking to the fridge in the morning to get a glass of milk, right? With gymnastics, most of these actions we do, we don't really actually think about. We just do them involuntarily,
Correct.
right? Our body just knows how to do them. Gymnastics, what it really does is it gives a formula for each movement, right? So we talk about when you think about walking, most people think it's just like you're moving your feet one at a time forward, right? But essentially what you then think about is, what does that have to do with our balance then, right? To walk, we actually have to shift our balance forward. We're actually losing balance for a brief moment, then recatching ourselves on our feet, right?
It's a series of falls.
A series of falls, a consecutive series of falls. Now, let's talk about the difference. What do you think is the difference between, how do you classify the difference between a walk and a run?
Both feet are off the ground during
Exactly.
running. Correct.
So at the same time, we can understand that running is a series of one-legged jumps. Through gymnastics, we actually train one-legged jumps and how we connect that into our run, right? It gives a frame of movement for everything that we do in our lives. When you fall, we never want to fall flat, right? Or we never want to. We want to maximize either. Well, here's what I mean. If you fall, when you fall flat, you take a lot of the energy just goes straight into your body, right?
Right.
What if we transfer that into a roll?
Okay.
Right? It's a concept of physics where you're lengthening the time this energy goes into your body, thus reducing the amount of damage that it can do.
Yeah.
Right?
Parkour has a lot of this.
Right. So these are just concepts of movement that you learn through gymnastics.
Right.
And all of these movements are just things that we do every day. Right? For sure, we might not have to sprint every day, right? But we do have to walk every day.
Sure.
We go upstairs. We have to learn we have to be able to lift our legs up. This is something that we teach kids how to do.
Right.
Which muscles are involved? What are the biomechanics of even just lifting your leg or lifting your arm? A lot of things most things that people don't think about, they just learn through gymnastics. We give a scientific value or a scientific explanation of movement.
And you find that important because I find that important. I think if I realized as I was getting older, I didn't know how to run. I had no idea how to run. And you watch all of these marathon runners and they have a way that doesn't hurt your knees when you run. And I was like, oh, I've been running wrong my whole life.
Right.
Yeah, ever since I was a kid, and no one ever taught that to me. And I think it would be beneficial for anyone, to just have that skill in your pocket, to learn how to walk correctly, to learn how to run correctly.
Yeah.
So it does minimal damage to your body. And I don't think that's taught at all. I think that's actually very under-taught.
Well, let's. I see you have like a banjo over there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you play musical instruments?
I don't, but I'm learning that banjo.
Okay. So as you're learning, my background actually, aside from gymnastics, I'm a professional pianist.
That's incredible.
So, but here's the problem, right? As you're learning the banjo, let's think of the process how you're learning it, right? What's the first thing that you learn?
Oh, I'm just going off of YouTube, so I'm just learning how to play
songs.
Yeah, play a song.
Okay.
Which I think might not be the best way to learn, but it is what I'm doing now.
Here's my experience, right?
Right.
So, as a pianist, my teacher, they have this whole thing called music theory, right? Where you learn notes, you learn chords, and why these chords go together, why these sounds sound good. It is all about waves and all this fancy shit, right? But whatever. My piano teacher never taught me any of that.
Okay.
My piano teacher had me playing scales. And my mom's like, well, you got to learn scales, right? So you're just going to sit here and do this 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
In the beginning, that's okay because the songs were simple. And I could just like watch him play, listen, and just like kind of recreate what he's doing, right? But the problem comes when you have to play more complex songs now.
Yeah.
At the point when I was 15, I had this huge realization. So I was like, there were other people that were playing piano with me, and I would, occasionally have, chances to interact with them. And they understood music theory. They understood how to read notes, all the foundations.
Mm-hmm.
For them to learn a new song, it might take them 2 weeks. For me to learn a new song without foundations would take me half a year.
Mm-hmm.
I could never keep up with them anymore.
Yeah.
And so the process ended up for me learning piano. Yeah, technically I could play all these songs amazing. But for me to learn a song was just this whole painstaking process where I would go to my teacher and I'd like watch my teacher play the next like segment of the song, and I just go home and try to recreate that.
Right.
And so this is why foundations are important.
You have no base.
You have no base.
Yeah.
Right? And so gymnastics, what I see, is now the base as for sports.
For a lot of sports. Yeah.
When you're running, you run in soccer, you run in track and field, you jump in basketball, all these things. But without being able to understand how all these things work, when you're just thrown into the sport and you're asked to now take a ball, take a ball and throw it into this hoop, it involves a jump,
Mm-hmm.
right? But without being able to jump properly, then your technique gets all screwed up.
Correct.
Right. So to build on top of things is really what really complicates everything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think gymnastics as a tool, super useful.
Gymnastics as a sport, not for everyone.
No, not for anyone. Not for anyone.
What do you mean not for anyone? I think that gymnastics as a sport is somewhat useful just as a Olympic, medal catching thing. Like there are so many countries that are great at gymnastics.
Yes.
I think China used to be one of them. I
Yeah.
think China gymnastics used to be fantastic.
Yeah.
American gymnastics right now, America's doing quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it's such a basic, and I use basic in a very, I guess, in quotes way, but it's a very basic sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like it fits into a lot of other sports.
Right.
So why do you think the sport of gymnastics is not really fit for anyone?
Well, I think let's not say the sport of gymnastics. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say competitive gymnastics.
Okay, sure.
There comes a point in economics, right? The point of diminishing returns. The foundations of gymnastics, super important.
Mm-hmm.
Every sport can use. But when you get into high-level skills like a double front flip with a full twist,
Yeah.
that's really not applicable to anything, right? You can use it in gymnastics, but I don't think anybody will ever need to do that skill.
Yeah, it depends on what you're into. Maybe you're into like
Yeah.
base jumping or like
Yeah, but like even something simple like a forward roll, right? Gymnastics as a sport, it's scored on presentation. So
I see where you're going with this.
when you're doing a simple skill like a forward roll, yes, in a competition form, you need to have your knees together. You need to have your body tight. You need to have your toes pointed. But when you're rolling out of bed, you're not going to need to care about that.
Mm-mm.
Like nobody rolls out of bed with their toes pointed,
Mm-mm.
right?
It might be a little weird if you do.
Right. But being able to roll and understanding how the mechanics of a roll is super important.
Mm-hmm.
If I fall,
Should roll.
I'm gonna look to roll.
Yeah.
I ride motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times gymnastics has saved my life.
Yeah.
When I crash, there have been times where I've crashed and I fly over the bike.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, I'm looking at, and this is what happens, right? Because I've fallen so many times already. your mind almost slows down. Time slows down for a bit. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, how am I going to hit this ground in the least painful way?
Right.
Right. And that's when your your instincts come into play.
Right.
And that's, to me, that came from gymnastics,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I remember.
But my toes aren't pointed, right? It's like, as I'm flying off this bike, my toes aren't pointed and my knees are definitely not together.
Yeah.
Right. So competitive gymnastics, the aspects of it,
It's aesthetic.
It's
that are
aesthetic,
maybe not necessary for
but not for survival.
Right.
Right.
I get that. I remember jumping my first time off of the 10-meter dive.
Wow.
And I was like, I remember I was 13
Yeah.
and all my friends were jumping off.
Yeah.
And I looked over and I was like, that's really high.
Uh-huh.
And just jumping off, I remember thinking, first of all, jumping off of that took a long time before I could jump off. But once I jumped, I realized I was in the air for like a while.
Yeah.
Just being like, I can't believe I'm still falling.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those feelings where you're like, how am I still not in the water yet?
Yeah.
And then you hit the water, you're like, oh. But it's that air time where you're just like, this is not natural. This is not normal. You know, to be able to like be used to that took multiple jumps before you're like, oh yeah, it's okay to still be in the air, you know? And I don't think people really understand that feeling of like, you're not holding on to anything, you're just free falling for a bit.
Yes.
You know? That feeling is like not natural, not normal for humans to be in. Because if you think about
we're ground animals.
Yeah, we're ground animals. Like, jumping from that high normally kills you.
Yes.
You know? So your body's just never going to be like, oh, this is okay.
Yeah, we're wired not to
be okay with that.
Yeah. It's completely natural, right? And in a sense, like you say, with like sports like swimming or gymnastics, you have that sense of what we call air sense. You know, being able to orient our bodies in space is super important.
Yeah.
That's an important tool to have, ability to have. Not so much being able to flip so many times, but just being able to orient our body in a way that, okay, we know where we are.
Yeah.
You know, that is super important.
Yeah.
But like you say, you jumped the first time, it was super scary. You don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
But the more you do it, you get used to it now.
Not only that, it feels even longer sometimes. You're like, oh, I have more time to kind of move my body
yes.
here. Yeah.
Very true. That's very true.
Yeah. Because in the beginning, you're like, I'm still falling, but like, I can't really do anything. But then the more you jump, the more you spend time like free falling. You're like, I have a lot of time here. I can kind of mess with this a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I don't now have to jump feet first. Maybe I'll turn it into a pike and go head first. Like, I have more time.
No, that's interesting. I was thinking like maybe that's you know, that's how diving started, right?
Probably.
Somebody was just like, well, yeah, we can start playing with this now. Yeah, that's interesting.
But
yeah.
I love that shit. Like, as you get more used to being in the air, you're like, well, I can, you know, maybe turn off to the side, turn to the other side.
Yeah.
What can I do while I'm falling?
Yeah. That's very interesting. I've never really thought about that. But yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, because 10 meter, you're falling for a good, 3-4 seconds. You're falling for a while.
10 meters. I don't know if it's 3 or 4 seconds, but it feels like 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah, it
right?
feels like you're in there for a while.
You're never falling. I mean, like, yeah, we're never falling 10 meters.
No, never.
And living to tell about it.
Yeah.
Or like doing it multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Right? Well, usually you fall 10 meters, you're done falling 10 meters for the next 5 years.
At least.
So, yeah.
But I love that feeling. And I understand why gymnastics is like important for your everyday athlete, I would say. It's super relevant now in things like CrossFit. I think CrossFit took a lot from gymnastics. Wrestling, which we do in jiu-jitsu a lot.
Yeah.
Like, all of that stuff has a base that started kind of in gymnastics. Do you think that it's something you can kind of push into, you know, whatever's going on in CrossFit now, whatever's going on in wrestling gyms now? Do you think it's something that you can start pushing into those sports?
So
Because I think it'd be beneficial.
I think that's an interesting perspective. I think a lot of Western countries are starting to do that.
Yes.
My main thing right now is there's been this trend for children's fitness in China.
Yeah.
They call like I'm sure you've heard about it. It's called 体适能,
Yep.
right? But when you look at the market in Western countries, there's really no 体适能 for children. 体适能 for children is all based in gymnastics, fundamental training.
Okay.
That's why they say, I mean, when we're in America, we have like kids from 4 to 6 all do gymnastics. They do go into a tumble tots class where they're just exploring and learning how to climb up on stuff. You're learning how to do roll down stuff. You're learning how to land. And that's essentially what 体适能 is teaching kids.
Yeah.
I mean, to excel in sports, right? You really need to be, let's say soccer, or we call it football or whatever, right? I mean, is it beneficial to be able to run faster?
Absolutely.
Right. And 体适能 is just teaching you how to run faster, right? Not even, and a lot of times running faster doesn't involve actually just like increasing our leg muscle mass, our leg strength. So no. Sometimes it's just increasing the efficiency of your run helps you run faster. Yeah. And that's essentially what gymnastics is doing too. You know, for vaulting, right, where you run up this runway and then you jump off this springboard and you're flipping in the air. All your power just comes from the run, right? So it's super important in gymnastics to learn how to run. Yeah, sprint. Right. And so what you see when we develop athletes in gymnastics, their first 2 to 3 years of vault training is just focusing on correct running form, correct stride, gait, all these things that you teach in 体适能 essentially, but it's just giving them something, a more fun goal or something to learn it in.
I mean, I had my friend Justin on. He's from Australia, and they are teaching fundamental movements to kids. I think that is a base class that I guess I didn't know was getting more popular in China. I knew that I've heard of it, but I didn't know how popular it was. Yeah. But these fundamental movement classes start making sense when kids don't even know how to like jump or squat. Yeah. You know, I watch a lot of the hobbyists now in rock climbing and jiu-jitsu, and you realize these people don't even know how to squat. Like, they don't even know a basic fundamental human movement. Just squat down and get back up. That's it. And then you'll see knees buckle. You'll see just all sorts of like wild, weird squats where I'm like, did you even learn how to do this when you were a kid? No. Why would I need? Instead of gym, I was doing math. You know, like that happens so often in the Chinese system, at least for our age, right? Like the 80s and 90s kids, they spent a lot of their gym classes reading copying books. Homework or they were just like, this is not that important. And then in their 30s, they're like, oh, I really picked up, rock climbing. I want to go bouldering, but I don't have any of these fundamental movement patterns. Right. That is the big problem, at least for people our age. I'm glad they're seeing it and they're trying to change the newer generation.
Well, I think, yes, they're seeing it. But one thing that you touched upon that was actually very important that we spoke about earlier is what is correct and what is incorrect, right? So how do you determine whether one motion is correct versus another motion is incorrect?
I don't know.
So I think what really is important now is the science behind it, right? So we talked about biomechanics. So we talked about biomechanics, and biomechanics really is the way to assess movement. Okay. So I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think the best way to do any movement is the most efficient way. Okay. Right? The less amount of stress on your joints, the least amount of possibility for injury, and you save energy. We all just want to save energy doing whatever it is we're doing, right?
Sure.
And biomechanics is really just the roadmap on how we do this. So when you talk about squatting, then this is why science is really important. Education behind movement is super important. And this is something that I really try to incorporate into when I teach my kids, when I train coaches. This is really the foundation of all movement. And I think that that's something that a lot of people really aren't aware of.
Sure, I agree. I mean, the public is not aware of it,
Yes.
right? I mean, if you look at physios and all of that, they've been teaching this for years.
Yes.
Right? Like you look at the American, physical therapy, I guess, system.
Yeah.
It's huge in America now.
Yeah.
There are tons of people going to these schools trying to learn physio. Because all these people are also getting hurt, right? As you have all of these aging people, you realize, oh, they have problem with their gait. They can't jump. They can't do a lot of things. When they fall, they don't know how to fall. So they're getting injured. They're going to their physio. They're being like, what do I need to do? And I mean, that's a booming industry. And to put that onto kids and be like, this is how you should, it's preventative, which is what I think you're trying to do.
Well, yes, but here's the thing. There's essentially no kid is gonna go into physiotherapy.
Yeah.
Right. It's like there's not really a need for that unless he has a serious problem, right? But a lot of the problems that we have as adults are accrued from
when we were kids,
the habits of when we were kids.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a chronic injury.
Yeah.
Right. So. But then when you think about this in terms of sports, right? As a normal, when we're just not involved in sports, we're normally just putting maybe a little bit of stress on our joints each day. But then when you are heavily involved in sports, that amount of stress on your joints, on your muscles, on your body becomes amplified, right? Yeah. And so this is why the physio aspect is so important for youth athletics. But the problem comes is that who's really giving this product to the kids?
I mean, whatever coaches.
It's the coaches.
Yeah.
Right. But what I find in this market now is that very, very few coaches are aware of the science behind it. A lot of coaches are just coaching off of models that they've been taught.
Correct.
And it maybe worked for them, but one thing that they have to be aware of is causality, right? It's not that they succeeded because of this system. It's more so that they succeeded despite in spite of this system.
I know.
Right? And so for them, that connection is the logic behind it becomes flawed. And it becomes like a negative cycle in a way.
Yeah.
Because like I said, competitive high-level gymnastics is not suitable for anyone. It's suitable for 0.01% of the population. Yeah. You can't take a model that worked for 0.01% of people and give it to 100% of people. It's not possible. They're going to die.
Yeah.
If I have to train like that, I'm going to die. Most kids cannot run 5 kilometers and then hold a half-hour handstand.
Yeah.
That's not going to help with their shoulder strength. I'm sorry. That's going to ruin their elbow joints, their wrist joints, and their shoulder joints. It's going to kill them. You're going to kill an athlete.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important for coaches to be aware of kinesiology, to be aware of, biomechanics, and just the science behind training.
So I know that you mostly coach kids.
Yes.
But what would you recommend to your average 40-year-old male, 40-year-old female that is kind of active, but maybe, doesn't work out every day, doesn't have, athlete goals. They just want to be healthier. Any recommendations from a movement perspective?
From a movement perspective, so my model when I'm teaching children, I like to, one word, alignment. Keeping everything straight, keeping everything aligned. That is ultimately most important thing we want to achieve in all of our skills. So what I mean by alignment is that, like, if your shoulders, when you're, let's just take squat for an example, right? If your shoulders aren't aligned with your feet, it means you're either leaning backwards too much or you're leaning forwards too much.
Sure.
Right? It's a whole chain. If you're leaning forwards too much, you're probably putting unnecessary stress on your spine, right? 1 day, 2 days isn't going to be a huge deal. But if you do this same motion 1,000 times, 10,000 times, you're going to injure yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So actually getting the right alignment for skills is way more important than the numbers you're pushing. You know, I was young once too, and I just wanted to bench press as much as I could. I wanted to deadlift as much as I could. But what you have to understand is that when you're not aligned, you really put a cap on.
I love what you're saying.
Your own potential.
Yep.
Right. It's like the bullet analogy. Whereas if you're shooting a bullet at a target that's 100 meters away, if you're off by just 1 degree, when you hit the target, it's going to be off by 3 meters.
Yeah.
Right. So finding the right direction is, when I say finding the right direction, I mean like having the right foundation for whatever it is you're doing is ultimately going to be the most important thing. Adults, even more important, because you don't want to get injured as an adult.
You have less time.
You have even less time.
Right.
Right.
Oh, man. Alignment is great. And I think that's taught in a lot of sports. I guess my big problem would be most people don't even know what alignment is for your average individual then.
Yes.
Right? I think a good example is in jiu-jitsu. There's this thing called a crossface, where I'm just moving your head from this position to this position. And immediately your whole body's weaker because you've misaligned their spine.
Yes.
And I don't think people understand why. They just do it, right? Because they're taught that this motion helps you control the other person better. But they don't understand why it helps them. And then if you think about it, they're like, well, their spine's completely out of whack. Like, they just have trouble moving in general because, you know, your neck is like this.
Yeah, there's no way you can exert any force after that.
Correct.
And that's this is why it was like, that was, so at one point, I don't even know if it's at one point, maybe even now, I was the most hated gymnastics coach in all of Shanghai. The reason for this was because a lot of the gymnastics coaches in China were teaching using a certain technique, and I was like, that technique is retarded. Let's not do it this way, right? And it was a simple technique where it was like, you know, when you start off a skill, when you start your tumbling, you got to put they like to put their hands in front of their shoulders at this height.
Okay.
And I was like, no, fuck that. Why don't you just keep their hands by their ears? And the reason for this was alignment. It was just like, okay, if you keep your arms up by your ears, from your hands to your toes, from a physical perspective, you hold a straight line now.
Okay.
And they were like, no, because you want to get your hands to the ground faster when you're tumbling. And I was like, no, it's not about getting your hands down to that ground faster. It's about being able to get the force back into your body for tumbling.
Okay.
Right. And so I was just argue about this with them endlessly. And so the reason is actually really simple. When you hold your body in a line, like you say, when your spine is completely aligned, right, you're able to exert force through your legs, through your arms, whatever it is. When your body's out of alignment, you naturally don't want, your body kind of limits you from exerting that force, because if you're out of alignment, there's a very high chance of injury.
I agree.
Right? So your body knows this. It's like you're not going to try to put your leg this way you do too much lateral movement with your legs, because your knees are going to get completely injured. Right? Our joints are designed to to function in a certain degree, certain angles.
Yeah.
And we want to try to hold that natural angle as much as possible. Right. But without the concept or without the science behind it, it's really hard to understand why certain techniques are taught the way they are.
Right. I mean, I'm victim of this, right? I took a lot of time to understand why. I'll give a good example. For swimming, for swimming freestyle, there's this drill called the catch-up drill. Okay, the catch-up drill is when you pull each arm, and this arm comes back and touches this hand.
Okay.
Then you pull the other hand, and it was never taught to us why you're supposed to do this drill. And they were just like, you just do it. And it's part of teaching freestyle across the country. Everyone teaches catch-up drill. They never tell you why you teach catch-up drill. And I've taught it for years and never understood why. And then I actually sat down and swam it. I was just like, why are we teaching it this way? You know, what makes catch-up drill easier or harder? Like, it's not great at transferring to actual freestyle. In fact, in a lot of freestyle, one arm should be up, one arm should be down.
Right.
But I realized that catch-up drill here really helps you balance on your side as you're kicking. And that's why you touch, and then you kind of doing this rotation as you're doing it. And that's really what it's teaching people. But no one ever says that. They're just like, just keep doing catch-up drill. And to some extent, I don't think a lot of coaches understand why it's done that way, but they just
do it.
They just teach it that way. And then they're like, well, my coach taught it to me. I became successful, so I'm going to teach it this way. And then there's no why. There was never a transference of why. Because especially in swimming, it's one coach to 20 to 30 people. You don't have time to talk why. You just do.
Right. Okay. Here's my thing, right?
Yeah.
Now, why is it important to understand why this drill is important, or biomechanically why this drill is important? When you teach the catch-up drill, right, essentially it's just a motion.
Yeah.
Right? And the motion itself is to get a result. Now, when you're teaching it to a kid and you don't really understand why you need to teach the catch-up drill to do freestyle, you end up just having, it becomes kind of useless in a way. It's just like, okay, well, you have this hand here and then you put your hand on top. But imagine what you're saying now. Now you understand why.
Yeah.
You want to be able to hold your body in alignment and hold your body on this axis as you're swimming.
Correct.
Right? But imagine not being able to explain that to your kids. They're just putting their hands up like this over and over again, and over again. And then the drill becomes it just becomes useless.
I see, that's where I disagree with you.
Okay.
I actually think the drill is still useful.
Okay.
Because it's still, even though they don't know why, they're getting time, and I think subconsciously their body's figuring it out. I think subconsciously, even if they don't know why, their body's adjusting to the drill and automatically doing what the drill wants them to do anyways, because they're forced to do it that way.
Yes.
And so even though in their head they don't understand why, but they're doing the drill, eventually, if they do it enough, their body figures it out on its own, is my theory.
All right. So when I was swimming, I can think of a similar drill that we did. I didn't do the catch-up drill, but we would take one of the paddle boards, and we'd put it in front of us, right? And we'd be kicking, and then we'd put our hands up onto the paddle board. Essentially the same motion, right?
No. Totally different.
No. Okay.
And here's why.
All right.
I hate doing it with the kickboard, because doing it with the kickboard doesn't allow you that axis rotation, because you're flat. On a kickboard, you're almost always flat. But with the catch-up drill, you kind of reach a little bit on each one.
That concept of reaching, right?
Yeah.
That's a very obscure concept, actually. For a child, it's very hard for them to understand.
To reach.
Yeah. Right? So for me, as not a professional swim coach, I wouldn't think of that. And I'd just be like, okay, well, just do the catch-up drill.
Yeah.
right? But we, again, let's talk back about efficiency. If I just really understood the mechanics behind why we're doing this drill, couldn't I just add a little bit of a cue? Just say, okay, now you want to reach forward for that ketchup bottle.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this drill, instead of maybe being 30-40% efficient, it all of a sudden becomes 70 to 80% efficient. Right? So this is why understanding biomechanics is so important.
I agree with you. Yeah.
It's about saving time, preventing them from making mistakes that would just naturally occur. That's what coaching is, right? We're here to teach kids. A lot of times what I see is a coach will give just very vague feedbacks. They'll give here's my thing. I think there's 3 levels of feedback.
Okay.
From coaches, right? And I'm sure you've encountered a lot of this already. The first level of feedback is like when you're doing let's say for me for gymnastics, right? They're like, when you're doing that skill, don't duck your head. When you're doing that skill, don't bend your knees.
Don't do is a terrible thing.
Exactly. And I'm just thinking like, well, that's bullshit, because like, well, in my mind, like, you're just telling them what not to do. Right? And it's like, that's kind of useless because they know what not to do.
Yeah.
Well, what the hell am I supposed to do?
Right.
And this comes to the second level. And they're saying like, okay, well, when you're doing that skill, you need to lift your head up.
Okay.
When you're doing that
Slightly
skill, it's better, right? Yeah. When you're doing that skill, you need to keep your arms straight. And it's slightly better. And this is where I feel 95% of coaches stay.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because they can't understand mechanically or physically what they're actually looking for. If you understand, let's say you don't want just your arms to stay straight, you want your shoulders to extend out.
Yeah.
Then you can give a feeling behind your correction. Right? Then it's like it's communication. You can give a correction, and it's a clearer picture in the athlete's mind. All of a sudden, it's not just what they see, but it's describing what they should be feeling.
Yeah.
Right? And that brings it up to a whole nother level.
It's kind of an empathy feeling. I get what you're feeling. You get what I'm trying to explain. There's a level of connection there.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand.
And that's, for me, what because sometimes even me, like, I'll give feedback and it'll be like, what did I just say?
Yeah.
You know?
All the time. Me too.
But over the last year, when coaching kids that were the group that I'm coaching right now, they're all around 8 or 9 years old.
Oh, that's a great age group. Great age group.
And they're amazing. And so the biggest thing before I give feedback now, I'll ask them, what did you feel during that skill?
Yep.
Right? By knowing that this does 2 things, right? One, they are more aware of what their skills are, what they're feeling, where their problems are coming from. And 2, it gives me a better understanding of what I need to fix now. Recently, we've been working on front flips, right? And so I'll ask them, one girl asks, what do you feel during the skill? She keeps falling on her butt, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, I just feel like I'm just getting stuck in the air. And then for me, now I know, okay, well, she has problems rotating.
Sure.
Right? But if I just look at it from a surface level, yes, I can look at it from a surface level and say like, well, I know where that the problem is rotation. But then you dig a little bit deeper. You ask them, well, what part of your body do you feel like you're pulling tight in? Just asking what their feelings are. If they're using their core or not. If they're using their back muscles or not.
Right.
If their arm muscles are setting or not. These are things you can't see, actually. Right? Muscle, they're wearing leotards. You know, I can't really tell if they're squeezing their diaphragm or not when they're doing the tug.
Right.
Right.
But they have to tell you.
They have to communicate this with me.
Right.
Or something as simple as breathing. Right. Breathing is actually really, really important for force exertion.
Yeah.
But this is not exactly something that you can see because the skill's happening so fast. A flip happens in less than 1 second.
Yeah.
I don't have time to look if they're breathing or not. I can't, as they're rotating through the air, I can't tell if their chest is expanding or pulling
Right.
in.
You have no idea.
So these are things you have to communicate with the athlete. You have to ask them how they're feeling. You have to even ask them if they're even thinking about this.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're not thinking about it.
A lot of times kids aren't thinking about anything.
That's the thing.
They're just
They're just doing it.
doing it.
Yeah. But I think in the system that I've seen, what ends up happening is not a lot of coaching. It's just a environment where these people are giving kids, an environment and time to just figure it out on their own.
I don't think that's wrong.
Yeah.
I think the ability to figure it out on your own is criminally underused.
I think yes, but the ability to figure it out on your own is a talent.
Yes.
This is a feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Some people just have this feeling.
Yeah.
But you don't need to teach this feeling. That's not taught. That's not coaching.
Yeah. No,
That's
I
just
get what you're saying.
finding this incredible talent. Essentially any coach could have developed this athlete,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
That doesn't make you a good coach,
No, it doesn't.
right? So I think a lot of times coaching is kind of misconstrued in the Chinese system.
Yeah. But they're giving you the environment with this guidance, whether the guidance is good or not.
Yeah.
They are giving you guidance towards something and then hoping that the cream rises to the top. And if your base is big enough,
Yes.
if you have enough humans in this pool,
Yes.
the cream will rise to the top. And then those are the most talented ones. And let's just scoop up those. And everybody else wasted. But the ones that are on the top are on the top. Because regardless of the coaching, the cream will rise to the top.
Yes. But this is a very
Wasteful system.
short-sighted.
Oh, okay. What do you mean?
Well, let's think about it this way, right? When we think about sports, think of it this way. Yes, there are great athletes that turn up once in a while.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan,
Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps,
Yeah.
right? But what you want to build is a dynasty. What you want to build is a system
Yeah.
that can create athletes.
Sure. I agree with this.
But now this comes down to when we did our coaches training, they taught us one thing was that do not be a goal-oriented coach, but a process-oriented coach.
I agree so much. I 100% agree.
And now looking in the big picture, I can understand why. Because essentially sports development takes people and involvement. When you have a system that only focuses on the top 1%,
Yeah.
and kind of just wastes the 99%.
Yeah.
Once these athletes are done with the sport, they're done with the sport.
Yep.
They did not have a good experience with it.
Nope.
They didn't learn anything from it. They gained nothing from it. They
Not
were
only that.
they feel like they were abused by the system and they want nothing to do with it anymore.
Not only that, they hate it. Yeah. You're right.
Right? So you look at a lot of the Chinese athletes that they retire, a lot of the gymnasts that I talked to, I was thinking, like, I asked them, like, do you think you'll put your kids in gymnastics? No. Gymnastics is not for humans. You know?
Yeah. I
And
hear that all the time.
And now you have somebody that potentially might have been super helpful in developing the system,
And they don't care.
and they don't even care anymore. They want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But what a process-oriented system does, it ensures that each individual is taken care of despite of their athletic abilities, despite of their potential. We say, like, we don't want to develop you into an athlete, into the best athlete. We want just to develop you into the best you.
Yeah. I know exactly where you're going with this, and I agree with this a lot.
And so when this athlete is done with the sport and they learn all this other stuff, they can then take it back into the sport.
Yeah.
As we've said, doctors can take in medical information, physiotherapists can take in, preventative care, all this stuff that can help our athletes develop just gets lost,
Yeah. Because they don't want to have anything to do with it.
right?
Yeah.
So this is why even when we look at gymnastics in China, there's really nobody that wants to do it anymore because the athletes have been abused for so long.
Yeah.
The system has been broken for so long that parents aren't stupid. If I put my kid in gymnastics, they're going to spend all their time doing gymnastics. They're not going to get an education. Once they're done, then what?
Yeah.
The chances of them becoming an Olympic athlete are slim to none.
Mm-hmm.
I might as well just buy a lottery ticket every single day,
Yeah.
and the payout is probably the same. I spend this money, but my child gets an education. At least he can get a job and he can learn to integrate into society.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So within the system now, it's a self-destructive system.
Do you think the American system is better? Here's what they do for American swimming, right? Everyone in America goes to a YMCA, a club, and they learn swimming. What I like about the American system is that it's a little bit more egalitarian. Most people will have access to good coaching because the coaches are there and they're all pretty high level. So everyone gets access to good coaching, but it's one to many. And you're kind of, I don't know, you get access to it, but not really. And then the good swimmers will make those times and then eventually get good and qualify for what they need to qualify for. But there's also this cap where money comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rich families will be like, I need PTs.
Yeah.
And then they will get the really good training.
Right.
And so it's really based, it starts off kind of equal and then it becomes very unequal. Whereas the Chinese system's different, right? They'll pick these kids, but they get the best training. Or they get very good, they get training from the coaches that have been through it.
Yes.
And they pick and choose, and maybe the pool is not the general public, but it's already been filtered down. And so you get a slightly better pool with more coaching attention. No?
Well, here let's talk about this system for a second.
Go for it.
At least in gymnastics, or the coaches that are what we kids that specialize in sports in China, they start off in what we call 少体校. Right. They start off with their 启蒙教练.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting their first coach.
Yeah.
This coach will take a group of maybe in gymnastics like 6 to 7 kids, right? And so this is called 三线. This is like the third line of training, the third tier.
Yeah.
These coaches, their salaries and their bonuses are based off of
Whether this kid makes it or not.
how many kids they can send into the second tier training system.
Correct.
Right? But the coach knows. Coach isn't stupid. He's been doing this all his life, right?
Yeah.
This kid's not going to make it.
Right.
Out of his group of 6 kids,
One.
one if he's lucky.
Right.
So what ends up happening in the system? Well, he's not stupid. He has to make a living. He's going to spend all of his time focused on that one kid. The other 5 are just there to follow along. And those kids are there. They're just chucking skills. They're just trying to figure out all of this on their own.
Yeah.
I have a lot of kids that come to me that come from that are those kids that are just set off on the side. They're not necessarily bad athletes. But we have to understand that athletic development happens at different stages for different kids.
I was just going to say that. You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
And maybe this kid right now might not have the perfect form, but he doesn't fit into the mold
Right.
of what they're looking for.
So they're technically filtering out too much, too early.
Too early.
Yeah.
Too early.
I agree.
Whereas And then at the same time, you have to think about what you're looking for long term as well. If you're looking for, let's say, Olympic success, then by far it's more beneficial to have a larger talent pool.
Yeah.
Right?
Possible. More chances.
Right. If you have a self-destructing system that's kind of making your talent pool go smaller and smaller and smaller, it's a probability. You just can't find those genes anymore. You know?
Yeah.
And so is the American system better than the Chinese system? I believe from a market perspective, yes, absolutely. It is just generating tons of revenue from sports, right? In terms of Olympic success, I mean, you can see the Olympic medal counts for American sports versus Chinese sports. And I think it all comes down to just how competitive sports is just gene selection. At the top level, everybody is a monster.
Yeah.
Everybody's a freak.
I know.
But how do you find them? If you don't have the pool of genes, you can't.
Yeah.
It's impossible. You
just got to find more scouts. Just got to keep looking out in like the wilderness.
Yeah.
It's got to be there.
I believe in China, there's you think like there's not those genes. No, I think the population of China, the population of the US is 350 million?
Yeah.
China's at 1.7 billion.
Correct.
With a gene pool of, that's 6 times as
huge.
big as America. Do these genes not exist in China?
Impossible. They definitely exist.
Impossible.
Yeah.
But are these genes involved in these specific sports? No, I don't think so.
You think you're filtering wrong, and they're also filtering too early, which I agree with.
Yes, I think filtering what they're looking for a lot of times when the coaches aren't really educated in what the foundation of the sport really is, then they're filtering wrong. And 2, they don't understand fully how a child develops in their athletic careers, then they're filtering too early.
Yeah.
Too early.
I mean, I had that problem, right? When I was a kid, I was young, scrawny. I definitely for sure wouldn't have been selected. But then the problem was I went through puberty too early. I think I went through puberty at like 12, 13. It was too early. A lot of people didn't hit their growth spurt until 15, 16. And then they went from the shitty swimmer to like a monster.
Right.
In like a year. All of a sudden, they were just like 6 foot. I was like, what the fuck happened to this guy?
Yeah.
How did he get so big so fast?
Yeah.
I was killing him last year.
He's
and
taking
now,
steroids. He's on steroids. You got to kick him off.
And then I think in the West, they're realizing that you need to select later as opposed to earlier.
Yeah.
Because sure, all of these kids have been swimming since they were 6. So, sure. But you don't realize that real potential until that real first big growth spurt.
Right.
And then they still have all those skills. Everyone kind of does. And then boom, they're 6 foot. They're 6'5". And you're like, what the fuck? That's the monster you're looking for. You can tell early. Michael Phelps, I remember at 13 was just a beast.
Right.
Like some of them, but again, like you said, I think anyone that coached Michael Phelps, you would have still had.
Right.
A
Michael
monster.
Phelps would have been Michael Phelps regardless
No matter
of the coach.
who. Yeah.
Right. He could have been coached by his mom. He would have been Michael Phelps.
But it would have been fine. Yeah. And so it's not so much on his. I'm sure his coaches put in a lot of effort, and he had great coaching. But it's all about those other missed, I guess, athletes.
Yes. And it's like, the analogy is like this. When you were a kid, you ever play this game called Pokemon?
Yeah.
You ever catch a Magikarp?
Yeah.
That thing was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Until it turned into Gyarados.
Correct.
Then it was a monster.
Yep.
I mean, the chances of that happening may be slim, but yeah, it can happen, right?
Yeah. Well, you also had to know how to train it.
Right. But that's the thing, right? And a lot of times, I think a lot of coaches are looking for the wrong things in athletes. I think coaches focus a lot on surface level stuff.
Like what?
So, bone structure.
Yeah. Arm length, leg
Arm
length.
length, leg length. They look at if they're, I had a coach one time. I was working with her. Her biggest thing was this. Nah, this kid's head's too big. Can't do gymnastics.
Too heavy.
Too top heavy.
Yeah,
Can't
too
do
top
gymnastics. And yeah, but maybe their body will fit into their head, right? As they start growing. And this kid's like 4 years old.
Right. How do you know?
His head's supposed to fucking be big.
Right.
But I was
Wow.
yeah, his head's too big. Her knee's too big. She's gonna be heavy. But I mean, like, to me, I look at the athlete and I'm thinking, okay, her power generation is really good though.
Yeah.
She knows how to run. She's gonna be able to generate that power that you need long term to create high difficulty.
Right.
Maybe her form, her knee's not perfectly straight, her toes aren't perfectly pointed, but even in gymnastics, that's 1/10 deduction, right? And when you're looking at like high difficulty skills, especially now the way the rules have changed, they
value power.
They value difficulty.
Yeah.
That's why Simone Biles, despite of her shitty form, she can still win.
Yeah.
Just so much power.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the way the American system works now. They look for power. They're not just looking at aesthetics anymore.
Yeah.
They're not pretty,
But the game's changing.
but they're monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what you see across all Western sports now. So it's I think the system and the way that the game is being played is very different.
Yeah.
And without really understanding how this game is being played, I think the Chinese system is at a huge disadvantage. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. So what would let's say you are now in charge of that system. What would you do differently?
Education.
Yeah.
You have to educate. It's not
Education
gonna,
for whom?
for athletes.
For the athletes or for the coaches?
For both. I mean, the athletes, we hope, will come back as coaches or as some form to help our system develop, right? And the coaches, to better educate them into what they need to be looking for. What is a developable path? And then once you have a foundation of what we're looking for, then we can start discussing technique.
Right.
But without that, it's like giving you just like a small piece of the big picture. You're not going to be able to see any of it.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Right? I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah.
I think now, I hated school growing up, but I think education is actually very important.
All right. I think that's a great place to stop this episode. I need to have you back on.
All right,
We'll
man.
definitely do this again.
Yeah, for sure, man.
How does everyone find you on whatever socials you're doing?
I am just on, what do they call it? Xiaohongshu and WeChat. So just search CoachTed, one
I'll put
word.
those in the description.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And look me up. I've got videos talking about how I train my athletes, how I develop skills, my takes on gymnastics in general. And yeah.
This
all
was
these
awesome.
things.
Dude, I'll definitely have you back. Thank you very much for coming.
For sure. I had a lot of fun.
All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Do 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 do.